What's up guys, my name is Ace, and right now is sort of that awkward time of really dry content leading up to the big reveal of Modern Warfare 2, which is happening this coming week. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that's oddly specific. I know some of my videos are much more general. This one is very specific and honing in on one minor aspect of the game. And this is optics for your weapon in the Gunsmith. Over the past couple months, I've been seeing a growing sentiment in the community that within that Gunsmith system, the optic on your weapon should be a free choice where you don't need to spend one of your attachment slots. So assuming we're following suit with the Modern Warfare 2019 Gunsmith, which at this point, that's our best guess, where we're going to be able to select 5 attachments on your weapon instead of 10 like Vanguard, many people have been stating that they would like that optic section to be separate from the other attachments, so there's really no trade-off to selecting an optic. It's just a free choice for you. So if you want to run iron sights, you can do that, or you can put a red dot or a higher zoom optic on there without having to sacrifice any other attachments. And I really want to weigh in on this because this is something I strongly disagree with. For many people, they view optics on weapons as just a quality of life option rather than an actual attachment you select, whereas I see iron sights and optics as a balancing factor for a weapon. And after playing Vanguard this past year, I've really missed having iron sights as a balancing option on a weapon, as well as something that defines the weapon. I couldn't even tell you what half the iron sights look like in Vanguard because, since we have access to 10 attachments and there are 10 attachment slots on each gun, there's no trade-off and usually no reason whatsoever to not be using some form of an optic on the gun. As a result, I use the slate reflector optic on nearly every single weapon in the game with only a few exceptions, and that's because it's just an obvious choice. It's going to give you better visibility than any of the iron sights in the game, and it's also consistent across every single gun that I use. So I don't need to learn how to master a certain iron sight or adjust to any sort of iron sight on a gun because I just use that slate reflector and I'm not giving up anything to get that. And that's the part that I miss and hope to see return with Modern Warfare 2 this year. When looking back at this, I think to the guns in the past where certain guns you really didn't want or need an optic on because they had great iron sights, and that was a benefit to using that gun over some other guns that maybe had some obstructive iron sights where you may lean in the direction of sacrificing one of your attachment slots to put an optic on there to make up for that bad iron sight. So that's actually a factor the devs can use to balance weapons as well. So one gun might be a little bit on the weaker side, but they can give it incredible iron sights, so that's one benefit, which saves you an attachment slot. Or another gun might have a lot of power to it, but they can give it a pretty ugly or obstructive iron sight on it to encourage you to want to use an optic attachment, which can effectively limit its power at least to some degree. Additionally, when you do have to sacrifice an attachment slot to get an optic on your gun, this often encourages you to want to learn how to master that iron sight for the particular gun so that you can end up saving yourself an attachment slot. Even if that iron sight's a little bit on the obstructive side, if you adapt to that iron sight and you manage to play well with it, you're going to have an advantage over all of the other people out there that are using the exact same gun, but they can't handle the iron sights, so therefore they're going to be using one of their attachment slots on an optic, and now your gun is inherently going to be more powerful than theirs, since you effectively get an extra attachment that can actually impact the power of your gun, not just the visibility while shooting. And on top of all of that, I kind of touched on this earlier, I just really miss guns feeling a lot more unique, and I do feel like a lot of that uniqueness in a first-person shooter with a weapon comes from the iron sight on the gun. I can still very distinctly remember iron sights from games like COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, all those older CODs like that. I can still distinctly remember what the iron sights look like, and those games are over a decade old at this point, whereas with Vanguard, the current Call of Duty that I play on a regular basis, I don't have a clue what the iron sights look like on most of the weapons because, like I said, it would be silly for me to not use a slate reflector, and I'd only be putting myself at a disadvantage in most cases since there's no trade-off for running that. So having that free optic on your gun, I do feel would take some of the character out of the weapons in the game as well. And for these reasons, this is why I don't want to see a free optic attachment in the Gunsmith. Or at the very least, if they did decide to go in that direction, I would hope that every optic attachment, even the basic red dot optics, would have some kind of a downside compared to iron sights. The most obvious downside would be a slightly slower aim down sight time. So that way, if you decide to not run an optic, you at least have some sort of an advantage for using that iron sight, and there still will be some incentive to use the iron sight of a gun rather than always feeling the need to put an optic on your gun. Now, of course, this is just my opinion, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you think about the idea of having the optic attachment as a free choice, where there's no trade-off in selecting that optic, and therefore the vast majority of people will always have an optic on your gun? Do you like that idea? Do you think that should be the case? Or do you agree with me? Do you feel like there should be some sort of a trade-off to selecting an optic, and there should be some benefit for learning to master the iron sights of a gun? Just let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.